Hello and welcome to the video by TrumpExcel. I'm Sumit Bansal, and in this video I will show you a couple of useful text functions in Power Query. So here I have a data set, sales data set, and I'll open this in the Power Query editor by going to the data tab and clicking on From Table Range. Now, we've already covered a few text function or transformations in the previous videos, and those are here in the extract option. So I have text column, and you can see I can find the length of a string. I can find the first character, so I can extract the first characters, the last characters. I can extract the characters between a range. I can find the text before or after the delimiter, and I can find the text between delimiters. Now, these are quite useful, and in most of the cases, these are only what you would need. But let me also quickly show you what happens in the back end when you do use these functions or you use these transformation options. So in this case, let's say if I come here and I say that I want text before a delimiter, and I click on this, and I say that my delimiter is a space, and I click OK, and it transforms this column. See what happens here. I have this formula and it says text before a delimiter, and this is what it gives me. So if I simply copy this text from here, and let me first try and read out the entire formula here in this formula bar. This thing is, it says table.transform columns because we are transforming it, and it says changed type. Now this would always be the previous step in the applied steps list. So in this case, the previous step is changed type. If I insert something here, then this value would change. The reason this happens is Power Query would follow these steps in a sequence. So when you specify changed type here, it would know that the data to be taken is whatever you get after the changed type step is done. So it links this to the previous step. Now here I have sales rep, which is the column, and it says for each record in the sales rep, so which means for each row, for each cell in this, use this function, which is text.before delimiter, and here this has an underscore, which would mean that it represents each of these records. The delimiter here is space and then 0, and then it says the result of it would be a text type. So if I simply copy this formula here, and even if I know nothing about how this works, I can simply copy this formula here, and let's do one thing. Let's delete this step here. So I have the entire sales rep function here, and let's insert a custom column, and let me call this text before delimiter, and I would paste this function here. Now you can see that I don't know this function. I've never seen this function, but just because I did some transformation in Power Query, I was able to go to the backend or to the formula bar and pick this function from here. Now here in this case, let me pick the column here. Now if you want, you can go with the sales rep. If you want, you can go with some other column. If you want, you can go with item. So you can select item column here. The delimiter here again is space, and we can use this formula and see what happens when I click OK. It would give me the text before the delimiter for all of these items. So in case of printer, there is only one word, but in case of whiteboard, it gives me white and it doesn't give me board. And in case of office chair, it gives me office. So you can see that without even knowing and without even going into the help section, I was able to replicate something using a formula. I added a column here and I was able to replicate it just by looking at the formula bar. So now let me show you a couple of important formulas. Most of these are already there in Power Query, so you do not need to worry about it. But just to show you that you can use these if you just have a look at the formula bar. So let me duplicate this column and let me delete this one. Now in this case, if I want to know the length of the text string, I can come here and I can click on length. It instantly gives me this new column with the length of all these text string, and I can go and I can see that the formula here is Text.Length. So it's quite easy, Text.Length, and then it simply has the name of the column, which is this one. So you can use this function if you want. Now let me delete this, Let's see how to use the left function that is there in Excel. So this function, the length function in Excel, you could have used the len function, len, but in this case you need to use text.length. Similarly, if you want to find the left, let's say 5 characters from the left, then you can come here to extract, go to first characters and say 5 characters from the left. Okay, I had to specify the column. I didn't do that, so I'll have to first select this column and then do this. So I come to extract first characters 5, and now when I click OK, it gives me the first 5 characters here. And you can see in this case the function here is text.start. So text.start is there, then there would be something called as text.end, text.middle. So you can easily figure out that the functions, the syntax is different, it's spelled differently, but these are quite easy to use. Now let me show you another function here. So let me delete this one, and you will not find something which can find a string in a text string. So let's say if I want to find what's the position of u in this name, then I cannot use any inbuilt function because there nothing exists as of now. Maybe Power Query would introduce something, but as of now there is nothing. So we would have to go back to our Power Query reference formula, and here within function reference I would have to open the text functions. And in this there are lots of functions, and it may take you some time to simply go through these, but it's just a one-time activity. And no matter how advanced a user is in using Power Query, or how experienced they are, no one would know all the functions by heart. So people usually refer to this a lot. So don't worry if you're getting overwhelmed by this. Everyone does, and you'll get a hang of it. Now here is the function Text.PositionOf. This is like a find function in Excel worksheet. So if I open this, it tells me here, and thankfully there are a couple of examples here, which says Text.PositionOf ABCD, which is the string, and this is the text that I want to find, which is C, and this would equal to 2 here. Now remember I mentioned that Power Query functions have a base of 0, which means that A would be 0th position, this would be first position, C would be the second position. So now let's see how we can use this in our, so let me copy this just to make sure that I don't mess up the spelling or the syntax. And let's go to our Power Query editor here, and I would add a custom column, and here let me name this find text, and here I would have text position. Now I need to specify the column, which would be sales rep in this case, and I'm looking for the text U in this case. And now when I click OK, see what happens? It gives me the position, which is 2 in this case. It gives me -1, and this is quite weird because you wouldn't expect -1 here. Maybe you were expecting an error because it cannot find the alphabet U in this case. But unfortunately, Power Query is not going to give you an error in this case. It will give you -1 when it cannot find anything. But what you can do is, if you come here and you add 1 to it so that you can make the base as 1, this now looks much better. And to be honest, it looks better than the error formula, that is returned by Excel in case it doesn't find, it cannot find a text string within a string. But in Power Query you would get a 0 when you add 1 to it. So you can see it's in the 3rd position here, and any instance of Laura it would be 3, but in all the other cases it would be 0, which means that it cannot find that function. Again, this is something that is not there in Power Query as of now. The team may plan and add something, but as of now it's not there. So you can use the Text.PositionOf function if you want. So these are simple functions that you can just go to the library, this reference library, have a look at it, and when you tried it a couple of times you would get a hang of how the functions in Power Query work. That's it in this video. I hope you found this useful. Thank you and have a nice day.